Hey everyone, welcome back to our Bible verse vlog series. Today, we're diving into the timeless story of the book of Psalms, chapter 79, verses 1 to 13. Psalm 79 to 1 to 13 KJV is a lament, a communal prayer expressing the devastation of Jerusalem and the temple, likely after the Babylonian conquest in 586 BC, and a plea for God's intervention. Verses 1 to 4 lament over the destruction, invasion, and desecration. Foreign nations have invaded God's inheritance Israel, defiling the temple and laying Jerusalem in ruins. Slaughter and desecration of the dead. God's servants are killed, their bodies left unburied and exposed to scavenging birds and beasts. Humiliation and mockery. Israel has become a reproach and object of scorn to their neighbors. Verses 5 to 7, questioning God's anger and plea for retribution. Imperti inquiry. The psalmist questions the duration of God's anger, asking how long his jealousy will burn like fire. Plea for divine retribution. He calls for God to pour out his wrath on the nations that do not know him or call upon his name, specifically those who have devoured Jacob Israel and laid waste his dwelling place. Verses 8 to 9, confession, plea for mercy, and deliverance. Second Fosen and plea for mercy. The psalmist acknowledges Israel's past iniquities, asking God not to remember them, and pleads for his tender mercies to come quickly, acknowledging they are brought very low. Appeal for deliverance. He calls upon God, the God of their salvation, for help and deliverance, for the sake of his glory and name. Need for atonement. They recognize their need for atonement and pray for it, again, for God's name's sake. Verses 10 to 12. Plea for vengeance and God's vindication. Concern for God's reputation. The psalmist asks why the nations should say, "Where is their God?" demonstrating a concern for God's reputation among them. Call for divine avenging. He pleads for God to avenge the blood of his servants, demonstrating his power and justice among the nations. Prayer for the captives. He asks God to hear the groaning of the prisoners and to preserve those appointed to die. Plea for justice. He calls upon God to return to their neighbors sevenfold the reproach they have cast upon him. Verse 13, assurance of praise and future faithfulness. Brises of hope and trust. The psalmist expresses faith that Israel, God's people and sheep of his pasture, will thank him forever and show forth his praise to all generations. Overall meaning in the lament and confession. The psalm expresses deep sorrow and grief over Jerusalem's destruction and acknowledges Israel's sins as a contributing factor. Appeal to God's mercy and justice. It's a fervent plea for God's mercy, forgiveness, and intervention too. Thank you for joining us today in exploring this powerful chapter of the Bible. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring content. Until next time, keep seeking God's love and mercy in your life.